glory. Few manage to keep their date with destiny. But for many, it's been heartbreaks and a cross to bear. The Holy Grail is here in India. I'm Rupha Ramani, and Firstpost brings you the ringside view. We bring you the Cup of Dreams. Cricket World Cup coverage like never before.
The champion!
It's over!
He's done it again! Unbelievable!
Oh, straight into the roof of the net.
Nice one!
Straight down the middle. So a good performance from both teams here today.
Hello and welcome to Firstpost. I'm Rupha Ramani. Let's get things started. Now it's October, and usually that's when everything starts winding down. Holiday season in many parts of the world, and everyone starts slowing down a bit. Usually that's how it goes, but not this year, and definitely not in India, because the biggest cricket tournament, the OG of the sport, the ODI Cricket World Cup is here, and it's just about to kickstart. The last week of the Asian Games too is upon us. So it is a very exciting week starting today. So let's not waste any more time in getting you what the lineup looks like for today's show. The 50-over Cricket World Cup is upon us. All teams are in readiness. It's get, set, go time with a few more warm-up matches remaining. Today we start our build-up to the World Cup by profiling the squads through our very own quirky lens. Who's hot and who's in a bit of a pickle? The two teams we will decode today, India and England. Now, when I say India-Pakistan rivalries, it's not just cricket. The Asian Games witnessed an intense battle, and it was the theme of the weekend, in fact. With the two countries facing off at many events, we relive how that went down. And as athletes take center stage, India comes into its own. We get you the latest from the Asian Games, all the top medalists, and who stands where on the leaderboard in the halfway stage at Hangzhou. Also, just what happened at the 100 meters hurdles with Jyoti Yaraji. That and more coming your way, but here's what's making all the headlines from around the world of sports in Sports 360. Some more cricket news. New Zealand captain Kane Williamson will miss the World Cup opener against England. Williamson still needs time to recover from a knee surgery. The head coach says Williamson is going well at this point, but he won't be pressured into returning till he's ready. In tennis, world number 2, Carlos Alcaraz advanced to the quarterfinal of the China Open. Spain's Alcaraz beat Italy's Lorenzo Musetti 6-2, 6-2 in straight sets. The Spaniard will next face Norwegian Casper Ruud. World number 1, Aryna Sabalenka also advanced to the China Open. Belarusian Sabalenka beat American Sofia Kenin 6-1, 6-2 in the round of 64. Sabalenka will now play Britain's Katie Boulter tomorrow. Over in golf, Europe beat the USA to win the Ryder Cup. Europe needed 4 points on the last day to beat the American side. England's Tommy Fleetwood and Ireland's Shane Lowry played some spectacular shots to turn the game around and win the cup for Europe. The Ryder Cup is a biennial men's golf competition between teams from Europe and the US. And over in football, AS Roma beat Frosinone Calcio 2-0 in a Serie A league match last night. Striker Romelu Lukaku scored the first goal for Roma in the 21st minute. Roma sealed the win with a late goal from Lorenzo Pellegrini in the second half. All right, you can see the smile on the face to know that this is where things all begin. It's the big carnival that will engulf India in just days from now. Cricketers from all around the world are here being welcomed, and the excitement is hitting fever pitch. The warm-up matches kicked off on the 30th of September in Hyderabad, Thiruvananthapuram and Guwahati. Though some of the teams like New Zealand, Pakistan escaped the monsoon showers in their cities and got some warm-up time under the belts. Some others like Afghanistan, India, England were not so lucky. Rains have forced no play. Teams are hoping they do get some time out under the sun before the real action starts. But for us here at Firstpost, the build-up starts today. We bring you our special coverage, the Cup of Dreams, promising intense, rigorous and passionate coverage of the World Cup and provide you different perspectives to what you're used to. A different lens of understanding the sport, the teams and the players as well. And today we start by having a look at the squads, who all have been picked. What do they look like? How do we view the strengths and weaknesses of this side? First up, let's address the elephant in the room with India, a two-time World Cup winner. They won in 1983, the most till date, the most seminal moment in not just cricketing history of the country, but the sporting history as well. Even decades down the line, 1983 will be regarded as that moment when a country realized their true potential as world beaters. And of course, we can't forget 2011, MS Dhoni fittingly twirling his bat for the winning six at Wankhede, at home in India to lift the World Cup a second time after 28 long years, proving it isn't easy to win a World Cup. And here's how this 2023 World Cup squad looks like on paper. Now, it's a good-looking squad on paper. Some very experienced hands in there. Ashwin and Virat, just two of the men from that historic 2011 World Cup win, still in the mix. That's incredible. A couple of surprise inclusions as well, some misses and a few explosive youngsters for whom the World Cup could mean that moment to glory. Rohit Sharma leads the side. It's the first time he will captain an ODI World Cup. It's massive. And it's a massive chapter for his career and his path as well. Whatever happens, he and the Indian cricket fan will remember this. And who would have thought it would be this way, especially with Virat Kohli pretty much ascending as the heir apparent just some years ago. Passed down from the legend himself, MS Dhoni. And the team is coming off a resounding win over Australia in the ODI series at home and a comprehensive Asia Cup win as well right before. So in terms of form, the way they look, some practice, they've got plenty heading into the tournament. So let's put our own lens on the squad in terms of how they look as contenders. The squad is like a pack of cards or a chessboard. There are certain cards like the pawns who are integral to the team functioning. They don't just make up the numbers but put their hands up to assist the big guns when the going gets tough. And then you have certain special roles, certain cards or pieces who are critical to the team's fortunes. Depending on how well they execute, some are double-edged swords too. They can also be a weak link in the lineup. So first, let's look at who the ace in the Indian squad is. The superstar who could set the tone for the team's challenge and their campaign. Now I'm going with Shubman Gill for this one. Now you think Virat Kohli, and yes, he does have the ammunition, the hunger and the roaring talent to be the ace in this pack. But I'm picking Shubman for this one. He's young, he's fierce, he's coming into his own, and this could be the stage where he crosses over to certifying his position as India's next biggest star. Let's show you why. If you look at just his numbers as an opener for India in the one-dayers, in 31 matches, close to 2,000 runs, and the highest a double centurion. Now he's already in that pack there with 950s and converting them to hundreds, for half of them to hundreds. Now, moving on, I will pick a jack of the pack too, someone who is a bit of an all-rounder, someone who is bound to create an impact with both bat and ball. Again, it's a bit of a left field pick, so here's mine, R. Ashwin. You think Ravindra Jadeja would be there, and he's a vital cog in the scheme of things too, but I'm going with the guile, the wit, the never resting, always thinking R. Ashwin for this one. Now let's be honest, he's not one of your best fielders, he's not one of the quickest, but he makes up for all of that with the lack of it, with his sharp cricket skills and alert thinking. He's calm and processes things rather quickly on the field. Someone who is always looking to outwit the opposition.
We saw, David Warner go from left to right, right to left, all because of Ravichandran Ashwin. So he has that knack, he has the ability to get players to think while he thinks a lot as well.
Now, I've been speaking to other players and teams, and mind you, he already a lot of them are thinking on how they will face him, particularly in India. And guess what? India's first match is at his home ground in front of his family, friends and fans in Chennai. Right, next up, I have a joker card. Now, unlike what this term suggests otherwise, we here look at the joker as the X factor, the trump card, the card that can change the game. Someone who could hold the key when the chips are down, and there's a need for a dramatic turn of events. Now, my pick for this one, Kuldeep Yadav. The man has come back from not being in reckoning, from having ankle surgery, from being out of favor with his own team to now being a weapon for India. The 2.0 version of Kuldeep Yadav is critical for India's success. He's worked on his bowling, he's come back strong, and alongside Ashwin and Offie and Jaddu, a left-arm spinner, the trio on certain grounds could be lethal. Now, a team could have some aspects that is bound to worry them. For me, that could be the middle order, a bit of whom are just coming up back from injuries. KL Rahul, Shreyas Iyer, Surya Kumar just about hitting a good stride after a string of not so strong performances. So there is much left to see from that middle order, and you would wonder if that will follow through in this tournament. Now let's look at team number 2 today, a side that is so exciting and has revamped the way we play the sport. They have reimagined cricket, and the baseball way of cricket has surely been a trademark. Speaking to that setup and even watching them play, you know it's a team on a mission. They have adopted a style of play that they have molded to make it their own. And these styles have also, they furthered the team's vision, and that's what makes this side dangerous and a top contender for the title this year as well. When it comes to World Cup wins, they were always unlucky, finishing second best in 3 previous editions. And really, 2019, it would seem now that luck finally caught up with this English side. A nail-biting, incredible and much talked-of final against New Zealand to pip what would have been a memorable win for the Kiwis. Ian Morgan led the charge, and that squad created magic. Let's look at this one, captained by another batter, a maverick batter, Jos Buttler. He's ready, explosive, has a way about him, and coupled with Baz at the helm, this team is dynamic. They look to be a complete side, just the right amount of pure batting, impact all-rounders. Now, if we just take a look at their squad, in fact, we'll get to see what I mean and how dynamic they look as a complete unit. As we said, Jos Buttler is at the helm. He's the captain there. Again, a very seasoned veteran, someone who's done this in this kind of setup regularly. And just look at their lineup. Just some pure batters in there right at the top, someone like Johnny Bairstow, and then just the right amount of all-rounders, impact all-rounders over there as well, strewed into that mix, and a complete bowling unit with some firepower to round it up. So let's analyze the squad then. I'm starting with the joker in the pack for this one. And I'm playing to the gallery here because we cannot miss to mention him up first when we talk of England. It's Ben Stokes. Coming out of retirement to then be included in the scheme of things for the ODI side, Ben Stokes is clearly a man on a mission. He has the stature, the power, and he is gunning for runs. And you only have to see the last time he scored a colossal against his home country, New Zealand, where he scored that brilliant 82 runs of 124 balls, and everyone sort of watched this plunder happening. 15 fours, 9 sixes at a strike rate nearly 150. Now that is incredible, crazy hitting. And he knows he'll have to double up on that, considering he won't be contributing with the ball, and he's an electrifying fielder as well in the close circle. Certainly an asset to any side. England's X factor, Ben Stokes. All right, let's move on then. The next one on my list, the jack of the pack, the all-rounder who has had some stunning stints in the longer format, but could prove to be lethal here too, Chris Woakes. He's had an amazing few months just in the run-up here in terms of his contribution in whites, but we know what confidence does, and this is in fact the World Cup. Even if you look at how he's performed with the ball in the shorter format, he's taken a few scalps, and he's definitely the more economical. Basically setting it up well for his mate at the other end, and he can be a handy bat. Can give you some of those lusty blows towards the end. Maybe this is his time to come in and sort of deliver for his team. Moving on to the ace in the squad, this one is a no-brainer. No matter what his form is, leading into a big tournament, we cannot forget Jos Buttler, a big tournament player, a match winner, and key to England's fortunes as a captain, a perfect exponent of baseball. A solid skipper. He led from the front when he was in the IPL squad with the Rajasthan Royals. He was one of the key components responsible for them reaching the final and coming this close to winning it in 2021. He's going to be looking for another tournament, and this is the perfect stage. Now, why do I say that? Because in 2019, though he wasn't one of the top run getters for his side, he may not have been at his best back then. Scoring around a little more than 300 runs there, not some of his best moments, but cometh the hour, cometh the man. What could be, though, concerns for a side that looks challenging on paper? who's the deadwood? By deadwood, I mean the weak link in this setup. Now, if we move on to that, I'll have to say it's Liam Livingstone. Now, he's a huge name and a big ticket player. But look, if you look at some of his numbers in the last 10 matches in the shorter format, you would know that with that comes a lack of consistency. He's been a little inconsistent and just about a couple of 50s, and with the bulk of the big hitting to be his and Ben Stokes' corners, that just could be one area of concern for him. Right, now we have to switch focus, and don't forget though, all of this coverage and looking ahead to all those teams will keep continuing here on Firstpost. But we have to move on to the other big tournament that's underway, the Asian Games. We are at the halfway mark here of the Hangzhou meet. And in case you missed some of the action over the weekend, leading up to this day, we've got you covered. Let's look at the medals tally, shall we? You have to look at China right at the top there. There's no looking past them. 251 in total, but 139 gold medals there. Japan again with 30 golds, and India sitting at the 4th place with 13 golds there, and of course Chinese Taipei, and if I'm sort of breathing down there next literally, and so too Uzbekistan. So quite a tight pack there at 4, 5, 6, 7. But athletics has taken center stage, and the Indian stars are putting on a show. They hauled 15 medals on Sunday. That's right, 15. India's medal tally has reached over 50 as we're showing you, and here's to hoping more come out. Now, in a historic podium finish at the women's table tennis, the Mukherjees, they finished 3rd. What an achievement that was. Similar to the men's and women's 3,000 meters speed skating relay, India won a silver in the women's 100 meters hurdles thanks to Jyoti Yaraji, but not before she had to confront a controversy. China's Wu Yani made a false start. A false start is when you take off before the gun has been fired. Now, Jyoti Yaraji was in the lane right next to her and on instinct started to take off right after her. Officials initially disqualified both the athletes, and then after a few discussions allowed them to participate. The race finished with Jyoti coming in the 3rd place. A lot of discussions continued after the race ended, and then Yaraji was awarded a silver. China's Wu Yani, who initially clinched silver, was disqualified as her foot had taken off before the gunshot was fired. Now, this obviously unsettled the Indian athlete. There were a lot of talks also thereafter that was made that if she had not lost a bit of her concentration because of all that happened in the lead up to the race, she might have had a better one. Let's listen in to her. She spoke after the race.
This was my first Asian Games and I won a silver medal. It was a horrible experience. I just want to say that cheating should never be appreciated in any sport. I feel bad for the Chinese athlete. She too worked hard for the race.
Well, no such drama over in the 3,000 meter steeplechase event. India's Avinash Sable contributed to India's gold, and what a finish that was. Now, he's the first Indian to win gold in the event at the Asian Games. Avinash was the one who began India's gold rush, in fact, in the track and field events. He finished the race within 8 minutes, 19.50 seconds. Now, broke the record that was set in the 2018 edition by Hussein Kehani. That was incredible, and what a race it turned out to be. And it kept on going. Shot putter Tajinder Pal Singh Toor defended his 2018 gold. He's only the 3rd athlete in this discipline to have successfully defended his gold. And the 3rd gold was, of course, secured by the men's trap team shooters, again making a new Asian Games record with the total points of 361. The women's trap shooters finished with a silver. And as the shooting events at Hangzhou concluded, the Indian shooting contingent came home with a total of 22 medals, 7 gold, 9 silver and 6 bronze. This is their highest ever medal haul at the Asian Games, and what an incredible performance that was. They were also felicitated by the Sports Ministry here at the capital on returning. Now, we always end up veering towards cricket when we talk about India-Pakistan, and that's what all the contests sort of end up being talked about when we mention this rivalry. But this weekend particularly witnessed a theme of India and Pakistan clashing in various disciplines at the Asian Games. Take a look at how that played out.
While the Cricket World Cup is around the horizon and fans await that crucial India-Pakistan clash, here's what happened at the ongoing Asian Games when the arch rivals met again. It culminated into a thriller of sorts. From a squash gold to an intense hockey match, India has dominated at Hangzhou as far as this rivalry is concerned. In squash, India were up against Pakistan in the final. Now, India had lost to Pakistan in their group encounter, and facing the same team in the final was surely daunting. Squash, in fact, is one of those key disciplines that Pakistan shine in. And Mahesh Mangaonkar lost to Pakistan's Nasir Iqbal in straight games. The pressure was on India. But it was Saurav Ghoshal's priceless experience that set India right back on track after he dominated the second game and levelled scores. But it was the final game which went down to the wire, and it got the crowd going. It was Abhay Singh of India versus Pakistan's Noor Zaman. The first 3 games between the two ended with Noor taking a 2-1 lead. But Abhay Singh pulled off a heroic comeback in the 4th and then the decider, handing India a memorable victory. This is only the second goal for India in the squash men's team event after the 2014 edition. Meanwhile, Indian fans also witnessed some hockey hammering. In a lopsided match, Harmanpreet Singh and his team crushed the Pakistani side 10-2 in the Pool A match, marking India's biggest ever win against Pakistan in hockey. Captain Harmanpreet Singh scored 4 goals in the match.
The match against Pakistan went really well. We started off really well. Our mindset was to play aggressive and convert every opportunity.
The Indian men's hockey team have now qualified for the semi-finals, where they will play Bangladesh on October 2nd. Another rivalry that's making sport even more exciting is the one between Neeraj Chopra, India's star javelin thrower, and Pakistan's Arshad Nadeem. From being ferocious javelin firepowers to long-time friends, the two have backed and mutually respected each other. In the recently concluded World Championships, both took a podium spot, with Neeraj Chopra getting a gold and Arshad Nadeem winning silver. Both of them will now be in action on October 4th at the Asian Games.
Well, that definitely promises to be very exciting. But that was our roundup of the Asian Games as we wrap up the show. But don't forget to keep tuning into Firstpost. With World Cup around the corner, we promise you an extensive coverage of the tournament. But before we leave, as we always do, we have a parting shot that we call the last serve. We all can see what sports persons go through on the field, but there's very little insight on what happens behind the scenes. David Beckham gives us a little peek into that, especially what went on after his infamous red card in 1998.
I hadn't actually watched it, and I hadn't actually watched the interviews and what people said about me after. So that was actually probably the toughest part of the documentary, one of the toughest parts of the documentary to talk through. And it wasn't just stepping onto a football pitch, it was every time that I went out and in my car and people stopped me and spat at my window and all of those things, and then walking into a restaurant knowing that everybody in there hates you. So I knew it was bad at the time, but going over that whole thing was quite a tough one.
Well, that's just a teaser of a documentary that is going to be shown on David Beckham, and that will be absolutely interesting. A lot of behind the scenes, a lot of moments to be spilled right there. But thank you so much for joining here on Firstpost and giving us this company here on the show. We hope you enjoyed our start of Cup of Dreams. We promise a lot more lined up. Thanks for watching. See you tomorrow. It's the dream of every cricketer, the ultimate glory. Few manage to keep their date with destiny. But for many, it's been heartbreaks and a cross to bear. The Holy Grail is here in India. I'm Rupha Ramani, and Firstpost brings you the ringside view. We bring you the Cup of Dreams. Cricket World Cup coverage like never before.